the years, desiring to continue being loyal and useful to the country and the service, decide to form into one association that is called NAPOC. Our objective are 5, but I just mentioned 3 that are relevant for this sitting. Now we ascribe to organizing and linking up retired police officers with serving police officers to foster the spirit, the corps, and common goals of ameliorate of their interests and well-being. 2, to provide support to the National Police Service in readiness for duty at such times as the Inspector General deems fit. And 3rd, to deal with matters pertaining to welfare, conditions, retirements, benefits, and prospects of the retired police officers. Very importantly, we have looked at the report and we've summed it into about 6 thematic areas, one of which is territorial integrity and focus international borders, and porous international borders. There are a lot of things. That is a very loaded thematic area. Terrorism, radicalization, violent extremism, and improvised explosive devices, the IDs. That is also equally very loaded. Election violence, including criminal youth gangs, violence that are ready for use at small fee during elections. Violent cattle raids and theft, intercommunal violence, and resource conflict. And 5th is cybercrime and related offenses, organized crime, human and drug trafficking. We do understand that the National Police Service is in the process of not reforming but transforming itself to a people-centered policing, but that cannot happen without effective, professional, and accountable police service that is driven by a transformational leadership, innovation, and creativity as part of that process. Hence, NAPOC brings to the kind attention of our steering committee key issues that are necessary in strengthening this report. One of which, of course, is to start from the very beginning, the formulation of policies and strategies. It is very unfortunate that in Kenya, we still don't have peace and security strategy that really links the national level up to the community level with an emphasis of cross-border peace and security committees. The national policing policy that is also lacking, radical national policing strategy. And this is the area that I want to delve into details. We know that the government has worked very tirelessly in handling the hard aspect of policing, but they've not given more emphasis on the soft approach, which of course should incorporate crime prevention measures and control mechanism that is based on community policing, mapping of high-risk areas, allocation of adequate human capital for enhanced capacity in intelligence gathering, investigation, enforcement that is currently at stake. Now, that is the area that the National Police Service, the NAPOC, proactively would require to come in together with other actors in the communities, for example, the religious leaders, especially in the peace structures, the security and peace structures, as elders, opinion shapers, coaches, trainers, intelligence collection, based on the principle of patriotism. When we talk about the hard law enforcement approach, what we are advocating for here is not only the utilization of a well-trained and motivated workforce, but also the need to properly equip these officers. We know that the government has done a bit, but we also know that some of the equipment that our officers have do not really match those of the criminals. and the issue of facilities, and especially of housing, need to be looked at. Effective logistic support. I know we have been using helicopters, but I think we need to use much more to be able to collect not only intelligence, but even what happens in terms of operation of these criminals from the air. This should see, of course, the reactivation of quick response teams, especially at the sub-county, national, and with consideration of hotspot areas, particularly at the border, which of course we know is very porous. The border posts that we already have, you've heard even from news, sometimes they overrun and they kill our people and even take equipment, should be actually upgraded to police stations with enough personnel, including medical facilities, as part of the quick response system based on principle of joint security operations with the national government administration officers, the former provincial administration, operating on a semi-autonomous approach that are readily available for reactivation depending on the scale of the danger. We all know that the biggest problem we are having, of course, the crime now, we don't see a lot of robberies in our streets. It has gone to soft. But other areas where we have criminality, there is a lot of use of small arms and light weapons. And that is the area that we really need to delve in and determine the existing gaps that relate to why we have almost 1,100,000 illicit small arms in the hands of people who are not supposed to have them. Partly it's because we have weak or non-existent controls on the international transfers of small arms, the manufacture of these arms, dealership, brokerage, gunsmith, and of course we have very weak legal framework on arms marking, record keeping, legal requirements on disarmament, collection and disposal of surplus and illegal arms. So provisions for emerging international standards and norms, including Arms Trade Treaty, which Kenya government, among the 12 like-minded states, really played so hard. In fact, I was part of that delegation in the New York, and we came up with an Arms Trade Treaty, of which Kenya is a signatory, and it provides a very good framework on how we can be able to control the illicit small arms and light weapons, and we have not delved into operationalizing this treaty. Severe weather and intercommunal violence. We know that, of course, the contribution towards peace through poverty reduction must not be downplayed. Intervention should include borehole drilling, dam construction, and distilling in remote areas for provision of water, road and bridge construction with an nexus of provision of health facilities. Conflict over diminishing natural resources is something that is within our understanding. Food security and growing famine do arise, and this has contributed immensely in culminating into communal violence, cattle raids, and theft. Unfortunately, the introduction of illicit small arms, politics, and commercialization of these activities has actually been a very big challenge to us, especially in those areas. The National Police Service Reserve is another area that we need to look at, because the kind of intervention that we're using with the National Police Reserve, it is as if we are actually militarizing our communities. So what is the best option that we can have? Yes, there are some places that we must have the National Police Reserve, but we must put in a policy where recruitment must be very well thought out, their training and management of reservists. Some of these people, when you meet them out there, you think they are criminals, and yet they're actually part of the National Police Service. Very importantly for us as NAPOC is the need to have an exit and post-exit policy framework. This is to ensure that we promote and foster a constructive partnership that allows the mobilization of these unused resources and capacity improvement for enhanced retirement experience of these officers, as enshrined in Article 244E, thus providing a paradigm shift in policy. We know corruption has permeated the entire society, including the police. And when you talk about some of these small arms, even moving all the way from Somalia to Nairobi, there must be a weakness, and some of which, of course, is connected to corruption. So we need to have put a well thought out and deliberate measures that is supposed to curb corruption. As part, we know that it's become part of the policing subculture, and we are encouraging that the teaching to be able to prevent corruption should start all the way from the primary schools, culminating into colleges, universities, and even our police training institutions, to instill patriotism, ethnicity, ethical behavior, and integrity values. Best practice allows majority of trainers to be retired police officers. The advantage of this is that it will allow our active police officers to do active work, and therefore the retired police officers would be engaged in training. You go to Bramshill in UK or in US, Australia, and that is what they practice. I would wish that in community policing is where we should be able to anchor the National Police Reserve, and for purposes of collection of intelligence, countering